Well, today we're going to work with something that we've had for a while, but I think we need to take another look at it. These are our Color Me card toppers. We have 5 versions that I'm going to give you a project out of, at least one project out of each one. And actually, let me just show you one of them. So here's the first one, and you can see all of those colors. And the neat thing about this is there's so much that you can do. So won't you please come play with us? Well, before I get into the card toppers, I have a story. And it started several years ago, and we did these papers. Now, what they have is, I don't want you to show the top, Jeanette, so move closer, please. Okay, so these are raised. So if you had done heat embossing, with a watermark ink pad and then embossing powder and then heated it, it would be the same thing, except this is done commercially. It's called thermography. It's nice to have the word. And what we wanted to do was to have papers that have art on them that you could color with all the different mediums that are out there. So our first deal was you could take, now this happens to be a 12 by 12, it's called Color Me Ebony because it's brown, Susan Stripes. And you could take an ink pad and you could just do this, just spread it across. Probably it would help you if you had a flat surface instead of doing it on top of the other product, just like that. And if you wanted to, you probably would wipe that off just to remove any of the ink that might have gotten on the surface. So that happens to be with violet. This is done with orchid. But you can see how you can make papers that will match whatever you're using for your photos, for your greetings, whatever. And we did lots of different, so we've got chocolate. We also have, well, these are all ebony. So these are all the 12 by 12s. I did not use these, partly because they're in very short supply, but they are available at Paper Wishes, of course. So I'm going to set those aside. We're going to get into these. So we've got lace. We have fern in gold. We have clocks and gears in very limited supply. We have ebony doily, and we have chocolate geometric because it's brown. So there we go. Now let me show you what's in, and I'll just start with this one because that's my first piece. There are, of course, ideas and information on the back, but a lot of the products that it mentions are really no longer available, like chalks, walnut inks, smooch. Okay, so that's why I thought it was time to take another look. So let me show you what's in every package. There are 8 pieces, and let me put this on a white background. Okay, so you can see that we've got this one, and we're going to have 2 of them. Okay, and that's the card that I just showed you. Here is another one in the lace collection. Isn't that gorgeous? And this is another one that I will show you a project using that. And then we have greetings that you can cut out, but we also have that same graphic without the words. So you can put dazzles, you can stamp, you can do whatever you want. So those are the 8 greetings. So there's going to be 3 designs, 2 of each, and then 2 of the greetings right there. Okay, now what can you do now? So my challenge was to show you different products that you can use with these toppers. And that way it's going to just be useful for today. And I'm going to put this one on a white again because it does have the purple Mary. Isn't that pretty? And let me just show you what I did. In this case, I went back to the ink pads because we're all familiar with them and they work beautifully. And I'm going to bring in my craft mat. In fact, it's probably going to stay here because I'm going to be using that on all of the materials that I use. So I want to talk about the coloring of it. So let me pull that first sheet. Here we go. And I'm going to take out my blending brush. And I've got violet, I've got orchid, and I've got Air Force blue. So you can kind of see how that's going to look. And let's see, let me turn it this way because that's how it looks upright to me. And all I did was I took my blender brush, I took violet first, and I just started putting it in areas. So like this, it's just like what you did when you first did the blending brushes with the ink pads. So just like that. And I'm going to just kind of dab it in a couple of areas. And okay, how about that? How about right there? Then I'm going to take a baby wipe, and actually this is how I clean off my blender brush between colors, is I take my baby wipe and I just rub it across my blender brush, and then I move on. So now I'm going to go to Orchid, which is that purple that I showed you in the beginning, and just bring that. It's going to be that lighter pink instead of the purple. And I'm just going to bring that, and I want to bring it also into the center. And just like so. Okay, same deal. Do that. Then I'm going to bring in Air Force Blue, which is one of the newer colors that Hunky Dory designed. So you can see that they're going to start blending because I'm going to make them blend. And then if you find areas that are not blending, or maybe you want to add more of one color, you can just go back and do that. Just do the same thing. But it is just this simple. And like I said, if you want to add more color, you can do that. You can blend them as much as you want with whatever color is on your blending brush. And okay, so then I want to make sure to get the edges too, and I kind of did that with the Air Force Blue because that's what I had on my brush at the very end. And I'm just basically scrubbing it, and it doesn't have to be all blue on the edges, but I want to make sure that those edges get colored and covered. So it's just like this. Now you can blend them more if you like. I'm not going to take the time to do that, but you get the idea. So, okay, Air Force Blue gets covered up. And then I took this piece and I trimmed the edges with my paper trimmer to get really close to that little scallop that's on the edge. And my question was, now, this is really pretty, I think. But how do I get a greeting on it? Now I can use those that are in the package, but I didn't want to cover this up too much. So I thought vellum. So vellum, I could just cut a strip. It's about 3/4 of an inch wide. You want to make it longer than your topper, and then glue the ends to the back. I took my card. This is a 5 by 6.5 inch card. Of course it is. And I covered it with this Mary. This is the electric purple, and that's aptly named, don't you think? So I covered that card with the Mary. And then I had this vellum already on here. So I attached it with extra sticky tape, the kind that has the liner. Because when you've got a surface that's so slick like the Mary, I just want to make sure that everything was down there perfectly. And then I added in purple, because purple was the one I was going to use. This is the Purple Dazzle collection. It is the only collection we have that has everything, but it's all in purple. So it's got thin line, it's got the greetings, it has different borders, it has all kinds of words and borders. So that just went right there. And then to top it off, I used one of the ribbons out of the purple ribbon set and zotted it in place. Now on the inside, I took that same purple Mary. I took my vellum and had it go vertically because it is horizontally on the front. And then this is one of the cutout greetings. I just want to flash that. Now, you can see that this is looking a little different than on the cover, and it's because I pushed the ink pads on it. So they're not quite as blended as it is on the front, but just because, and those two hearts are right there, and that's the inside of my card. Okay, so start thinking about all of the color combinations you could do with the ink pads, because there's tons of colors and lots of options. One place I went is I get a lot of catalogs for clothes, and I just kind of looked through there and just jotted down some of the color combinations, which was sort of fun. So I'll show you a couple of those as we move on. So this is technique number 1, okay? Now, let's go to another card. And this is coming out of our gold ferns. And that is this package. And you can see the header goes over it and it kind of shows you a little bit of coloring, just to give you that idea. And in the gold ferns, we have this sheet, which is what I'm doing. We also have this sheet, which is going to be used on the inside. And here's one of the blank pieces. I didn't use this, I used the one with the greetings. So let me just show you what I did here. Now in this case, okay, I'm sorry to my dog, I just dropped an ink pad. Let me grab it. Belle, go ahead and lay down. Lay, girl, lay. And in this case, we're going to do a different technique, and it's going to be using a water brush. So this is the card, and you can see it's got some, the thermography is gold. And let me just show it to you on the blank sheet. There you go. So you can see that gold. Again, it's raised so I can feel it. And it's got lots of greens on it. So I used holly green and shamrock and leafy green on it. Now I have my water brush. I also have my mister, it's called M-I-S-T-E-R from Ranger. And what I'm going to do is start with the leafy green, okay? And I'm just going to open it up, and I'm just going to tap it onto my craft mat, like so. Now you probably can't see that, I'm so sorry, but let's see if maybe shamrock will work better. Yeah, you can really see that. Okay, so shamrock. Then I'm going to mist, so I just tapped it once. I'm going to mist right next to it and just give a couple spritz. Then I'm going to take my water brush and dip into the water. Of course, it already has water on it, and just a little bit into the ink. And then I'm going to start coloring. Now, in this case, I think it was closer to the center. I'm just going to go like this. And what I love about this technique, can you get it closer, Jeanette? Yeah, even closer. Is that you can control it so well. And you see, I'm going just right next to that little border. It's just so easy. And I really like having something that I can manipulate, I can control it, and you don't have to worry too much. You kind of get the hang of how much water to the ink you're going to want as you're going around. Now, I'm just going right around that border, as I said, and see how you can just go over any art that's there, because the paper is going to absorb the ink. Okay, so I'm going to stop going around there. And then I'm going to go back, mist a little bit more, and I'm going to pick up some of that leafy green that you can't see and bring it into the bottom area. Whoops. Probably the one thing you want to do is make sure you don't get your topper into your ink. There you go. So then you can start blending them together. And the other thing about this is you kind of feel artsy because you have a paintbrush in your hand, and it's just a really neat way to do this. In fact, I've done it on several of the cards. So then I used holly. Holly was in that line around the edge, that border around the edge. Now, this part stayed white, and let me clean this off and come back and tell you what I did with it. Okay, so I wanted to do something different with this cover, or this topper. So as I did the all of the ink around it, I tore the edges. Now this is a pretty narrow edge, and so I used my fingernail just to kind of take a bite out of it. Now it's easier if you mist it with water because it will tear a little bit easier, but that's all I did. And went right around that edge so you can see how it's uneven. And then I took a gingerbread ink pad and just rubbed it along that edge. Okay. When you have, I forgot to tell you this, when you've got your water brush and you've done all your painting, just again do the same thing on your baby wipe, and then you can scrub off the craft mat. And we're going to not have that go too far away because we're going to be playing with that again. So then the next thing I did is I took some, it's called Forest Suede, it's the green, and I'll show you a big piece. There you go. And what I love about the suede is that you can pet it. It really has a texture, and it has a saturated color. So you can see, let's see, I'm not going to move that. Okay, so then I covered the card, again, 5 by 6.5, with the suede, trimmed it off. Then I foam taped this piece on top. I just wanted to have a little bit of definition between the card and this torn edge. Then, to give it even more color, I used the Hunky Dory Glimmer Mist. So this is, it's got a gold sheen on it. Now, I know that all of this is gold, let's call it embossing, but this is going to fill in any of the white areas, and that's what I like about it. So I use that. Then this is one of the cutouts. I foam taped it on top. And then I went to, because this is called fern, I went to our copper ferns dazzles, and I just pulled off the pieces that you can see. Oh, I know why this is here. Okay, I pulled them off, and you can see how I crossed 2 of them at the top. I put one, I let it kind of go up on this, so it's actually sitting on top right there, and one piece. Now, I think it was just really last week, we just got the green mirror fern dazzles. So just to show you, if you wanted to do this in the green, what it would look like. I mean, it would certainly match all of the greens. I don't know if that's helpful, Paulette. But you've got 2 options, and that's kind of fun to have. So wanted to share that with you. Now, on the inside of this card, I used another of the sheets, and I kind of told you that. So it looks like this. It's got these ginghams, it's got the fern, it's got text, it's got lots of stuff going on. And I simply cut it, as you can see, right along that piece and trimmed it to fit inside my card. I used 2 of the greens to color in. And then I tore this edge, only that edge, because this edge is straight and I didn't see any value of tearing it. And then I also used the gingerbread. Now, thoughts of you, and there is beauty in everything. Those are the greetings that are included, that already exist. And then you also have this sheet of the same, you see that long piece, you can see this same label look without the greetings. So I happened to use the ones with the greetings. I foam taped it on top, and then I added more of the copper ferns. But you could do the green if you like. So there you go. So you can do the using the water brush and the ink pads. So that will give you a fun look. Okay, now remember I said about color combinations? Well, one of the things that I wanted to do was a different color combination. I tend to go in jewel tones. I like jewel tones. So I went back to the lace toppers, and I wanted to play with a different color combination. Now, I didn't mix them as much as I did on that first one, but I used, this is pink petal, and this is pear green, and this is tangerine. Now, as if you've been watching the Paulette's Paper Play webisodes, you know that I stamp the ink pads onto a piece of white paper. I put the names next to them for just this reason, because I want to see how they're going to look with different colors. So I played with this before I brought in that pear green. So I looked at the buttercup, the tangerine, and the petal, and I thought, okay, well, I could add the pear green. That's how those three would look. Or I could use lime. Well, they look very kind of tropical and summery. I ended up going with the pear green, which looks like this. I did not use the buttercup, although I could have. I didn't because wait a second, I did use buttercup. Buttercup is right here. Okay, so the pink petal, the buttercup, the pear green, and the tangerine are all on this sheet. So did the same way with the watercolor brush. And this is not I did glue it to the front of a card, so I trimmed it down just like I did the very first card. One thing I want to tell you is that when I first did this, I found, actually I'm looking for something and I'm not finding it, okay. I found that when I colored with the water brush just along the edge there, I had this big open space that really didn't, it was too big to kind of do with the water brush. I would end up getting strokes. So I went back and used my blender brush with the pear green that I had used on the edge and just filled it in. It just seemed to work better. So when you've got a big empty area, that's one thing that you can do, especially since you've got your ink pads out. So once again, I just use my water brush, tap this on my craft mat, misted it, and then painted it. So that was fun. When you look at the cards down below, you're going to see this card differently. And I cannot find the other piece that I did, but what you'll see, oh, here it is. In that photograph, you're going to see it looks like this. So it has these three pieces. And I did it, but then I didn't like it. So I pulled it off and I used the Sending Smiles Dazzles and a white bow. And I just thought that filled the space better. I thought this would work because usually you want an uneven number of elements, but it was just too jarring to me. So that's how I fixed it. And just wanted you to know that. So a couple of things. This is a good technique to have to help you pair up colors. And if you don't like something, be sure to pull it off and do something else with it. Okay, now we're going to go into the clocks and years. One thing I need to tell you about this set is that we don't have very many of them. So I only did one project, but I want to show you. And this project is this one. And isn't that pretty? Now, it is similar to the idea that's on the package. However, this is using the brown fireworks holographic. I decided that the bronze sequin cardstock would just do a better job. So let me tell you about this, and I found something new to do. So what I did is I took this sheet and I used my mister, and I used the, where's my ink pad? Okay, I used gingerbread and I used my water brush technique. So I tapped it down there, which again, you're not going to see very well. Did my misting next to it and took my water brush and just started coloring in. So I did this edge, and this is again why that water brush technique is so neat, is because it allows you to control. So I did that around there. I also did the inside of the clock hands and also some of the gears. Okay, so that's the area that I did. Then I wanted to shade a bit. So let me show you what I did. Okay, so you can see, hopefully you can see how there's kind of a shadow of the brown of the gingerbread in there. So what I did is I have the gingerbread there. I have the water. See if I'm into the gingerbread. Okay. And then I took my baby wipe and I just rubbed it on the outside, just to give me that shadow. And I thought that was pretty neato. So that is a way that you can get that look. Now, I'm not sure how much you're seeing, but here in person, there is the brown. Now, what I did on my card is I put the brown in here, and I used the blueberry here. Now, I'm going to be using the blueberry on the inside. Okay, so when it was dry, I trimmed this edge, and on my 5 by 6.5 inch card, I covered it with the bronze sequin glitter cardstock. And those, you can almost see the sequins. They're not going to rub off, which is wonderful and what we expect. So I covered my card with that. Then I attached this piece with extra sticky tape. And are you seeing the gears? Right there, 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 and there. There they are. And I thought, how perfect. We have these metal, they're called metal cogs, gold metal cogs. There's the whole package of them. And I wanted to attach them. So I used our old friend, the sticky specs. And as you probably know, all you'll do is you're going to separate this, pull the liner. This is the liner. This has got all of these micro dots of adhesive. Put your cog there, then lift it off and place it where you want it. Now, if you want to, which I did, I tapped a little gingerbread ink pad on top of these. It's not going to dry really well, but it's just going to take a little bit of that shiny gold off of it. Then I also used the copper jewel dazzles, and you can see them right there and in the center of some of the gears that are drawn on here. Now, you're the best. This is one of the empty greeting pieces, and then I used the tiny words and phrases dazzles in it. I did do the edges of it with the blender brush and the gingerbread, and I was really surprised. The gingerbread kind of looks orangey brown to me, but it worked beautifully with all of the browns, just exactly as I wanted it. Now, on the inside of the card, I used this piece, and I did ink it with my blender brush around the edge with the blueberry. And then I did the same technique with the water brush and going into some of the clocks and doing that gingerbread color. So that worked nicely. And then this is one of the greetings that's in the package. And you can see I just did the same two colors, and I thought that worked out nicely. It's kind of a clock and gear mixture too. So that is this card, which is probably, well, maybe the most attention getting. I don't know. We'll have to take a survey of that after this is all done. Now, when I'm done with the water brush, as I said, I do wipe it on the baby wipe, and then I clean up my craft mat just to get ready. Okay, so we have done ink pads in a couple of different ways, and we have done, yeah, that's all we've done, ink pads. Okay, now we're going to go into something else, and let me show you this. Okay, folks, what do you think? So this is now, we are now into yet another set, and this is the doily set. Again, there are 3 different designs. You can see 2 of them right here, and then you also have the greetings, the placards for the greetings and also the greetings themselves. Now, with this, I used a product called Shimmer Powders. Now, you may remember, as I do, the color bursts. It's kind of the same thing, where it is a powder that's going to react to water, which is really neat to watch. We have a whole bunch of these, and I've used many of them. The colors that I used here, I have done a little practice piece. So this is Solar Flare, I'm pretty sure, and that's what Solar Flare is going to look like. So it's not only yellow gold, it is shiny, as you can see. Okay, so that's that. Then the next one is Catherine Wheel, and Catherine Wheel is this one. So it has a little bit of some other colors in it. Then this is Golden Sparkle, and Golden Sparkle also has some other colors in it. It has a little bit of the shine that Solar does, but I liked it in combination. So I will be showing you some of these other colors as we move on. And what I did is to take, this is the design I used, you can see it on the front of the card. And I wanted to try this out with these colors. Now you can just do one, and actually that is what I did right here. I simply used the Solar Flare because that's shiny. But I wanted to do a combination on here. And there are a couple of ways that you can apply this product. Let me turn it this way. I like to see it do its magic. So I have a tendency to hold my bottle, these are plastic, hold it on its side and tap it. Because you don't want, and there's also the item number, you don't want great globs of it. You just want it sparkling or just scattering. Okay. There we go. You do need to be firm with it. So I'm hoping that you can see that I'm getting taps of this. Okay. Then, and you can do this in any sequence. I mean, it doesn't really make any difference. But the main thing is you don't want great globs of this going on there, because you can it's like so many things, you can always add more, but it's kind of tough to take it away. And the reason why I used the Solar Flare is I wanted that sparkle, but on the other two colors, I wanted that mix. So, okay. Whoops, see, that's not what I wanted, but that's what I got. Now, I'm going to bring in my trusty mister and spritz it and watch the magic, which I think is so fun. And I remember the first time that we used this, we had an event called Girlfriend's Getaway here in Canby, Oregon. And I had everybody put those little droplets on it, and then we passed along the misters. And you could hear the ooh in the room. It was really, really fun. Okay, now you can see that it's not, I didn't get it everywhere. That's perfectly fine. You can always go back and add more. That's kind of rule of thumb. And I can do that. And I will probably have to add more of the water too. Okay, I feel like I'm burping a baby. Okay. Well, see what happens with another spritz. Okay. Yeah, you can see that more color is appearing. Yeah. Now, if the other thing that you can do, should you want to, is put your finger into it. Now, what's going to happen when you put your finger in it is it's going to kind of blend the colors. But if you didn't get everything colored that you wanted to, this is another way you can, again, make it do your bidding, which is, as you know, something I like. Okay, so wow, look at that. There was powder there, it just hadn't done its magic yet. Okay. Now, you can add more, as I said, and let's see, I think of the solar would be fun. And this is something, okay, you can't control it. So those of you who are like me, you want to just know that. But that's kind of the fun of it, is that it's going to be unpredictable. And that's neat. Now, as I said, you can move this around. But that will do a little bit of blending of the colors. And that's not bad. It's just another way. Now, this has got a lot more red than my piece did. So I'm going to set this aside, and I'm going to wipe off my finger. And I'm going to wipe off my craft mat. So you want to keep that mister around, and your craft mat and your baby wipes. I'm going to put the lids on these. Then when it was dry, I trimmed it. Again, just trimmed some of the black off. And I wanted to really highlight the red that's in there. So I went to our new product, which is the red brush diamond, and it is just neato. In fact, let me open up the package and show you a sheet, just in case you haven't seen it, because it is double-sided. It's very lightweight. You can use it to emboss or die cut, you know, with your cutting dies. Okay, come out of the package. Okay. And there are 4 sheets in a package. And look at that shine. Isn't that gorgeous? It's lightweight, which is why you can use it with embossing powder. In this case, I simply covered my card front, and I attached my topper when it was dry. Then again, I wanted to really boost the yellow and the red. So that's what I've done, because I used my Dazzles. If you saw this table, you would understand why sometimes I have to go searching. Okay, here we go. This package is called 117 Butterflies. And there are butterflies in lots of different colors. Red is one of them. And let me show you. In fact, I've also used another one of these. Come on. Come on, package. I'm going to rip it. I hate to see me fumbling with something. Okay, so it's got red, it's got gold, it's got pearl, it's got iridescent where you can see through it. It's got pink, which I'm going to show you in a minute, silver, and white. So I used, obviously, this one. All you do is lift it up, place it onto whatever you want to use. In this case, I wanted to use the same red diamond shimmer. Place it there, and then use, I really recommend that you have these smaller scissors, because it's going to make it so much easier just to cut right next to the dazzle edge. It will almost guide it. That edge will almost guide your scissors. Okay, so you just trim that out. Now, when you get to the antenna, this is what I do. I lift it, hold it onto the top, trim that, and then just let those antennae flutter down. So you don't want to try to cut around those. Now, this is obviously foam taped. I think you can see that. And then just because I did with the solar flare, because it's shiny, and then I placed one of the other butterflies. So there's a whole bunch of butterflies on each sheet, as you can see. And there's even a border. Well, okay, let's go inside this card. All I did was spritz the golden sparkles, and then I and misted it. And then I just placed this butterfly. And that's what we did at Girlfriend's Getaway. We just spritzed it in the middle, and then we added dazzles on top. So very easy way to get a wonderfully colorful background. Okay, so as I said, this is with the doily collection of the toppers, and the 117 dazzles, and those shimmer powders. Shimmer powders are from Tonic. Okay, you want to see another combination? Okay, I hope you do, because you're going to. Okay, here's the next one. This is out of the same set. Okay, but this time I only used one, and this is Violet Brocade. And look at all the colors in that. Purple and pink. It almost looks like there's a red or a blue in there too. Now, I have my 5 by 6.5 inch card. I cut 2 inches off the front, leaving 3 inches here. I covered that with the other brushed. We have silver brushed diamond. And when I did my topper, this is the topper I used. And I used the Violet Brocade. Did it exactly the same way, except only used one of these. Now, the brocade is my little sample. Here it is. This is my sample of the Violet Brocade. And you can see it looks pretty much like that. I think I have more powder here than I did here. But I really wanted these little samples to help me show you what these are going to become. Okay. So, did the whole area just like I did a moment ago, except I just used one, misted it, let it dry. You can see that I did not use my finger to apply any of it, to rub it. I don't think I did. And then let it dry. Then I trimmed it so it would cover up all but that little, 1/4 of an inch. So that worked. This is the silver butterflies out of the 117 butterflies. I also put it on the silver, trimmed around the edge with my scissors. Now when I foam taped this in place, I made sure that I didn't put any foam tape there. Okay, so there's no greeting on the front of this card. On the inside, I covered it with the silver brushed, and then I used the other piece of this and flipped it and put it right here. This is one of the border dazzles that's on the pink sheet. Oh, go back closer. Go back, go back, go back. Thank you, even more. Okay, so you can see the border. And then these pieces are also in the dazzle sheet. So I just thought that made a pretty look. This is one of the blank greetings. I use the tiny words and phrases right here to say thank you and put that in. And just glued it in place so that that's all covered. And I thought that made a really attractive card. Okay, now speaking of color combinations and using these, I have another one. This is going back to the set we had in the beginning, which was the lace. And here is another combination, and you can see, well, this is Atlantis Burst. Pretty. And there's Atlantis Burst all by itself. But then I also added Green Parade, and Green Parade looks like this. So I put these two together, did the same thing, just spritzed them around, and that's what I got. So worked really well. Now I have a feeling, okay, I'm going to take that back because there has to be some solar flare in there to get that yellow. So there are the 3 colors that I used, and that'll be on the instructions. By the way, the instructions are down below. Just click on the card and I'll walk you through exactly what I did. But that is that color combination. I think it's just fun to play with that. Okay, so that is another one, and I'm going to show you one more card and just one more kind of modified technique. And this is out of the chocolate geometric. And it's called chocolate because the embossed areas are brown. And what I did in this one is I took this sheet and I cut out that pinwheel because I thought that would be a fun focal for my card. I also realized that in whatever coloring I wanted to do, I would probably color the areas that are the same design in the same color. That makes sense? So, cut that out, and then I used 2 of the shimmers. One of them is it's called Blue Blaze, and this is, I lied, Blue Blitz. There's Blue Blitz. Now it's just really blue. There isn't a whole lot of other colors in there. And I also used the Solar Flare because by this time that's kind of my favorite. So I used that, and I did a modified piece where I used my water brush. I spritzed some of this on my mat, my craft mat, not too much, and misted water next to it, just like I did with the ink pads, and took my water brush, and I'm going to take this one, and just did the same thing, mixed them, and painted it on, just like this. Exactly just like this. So I made it into a watercolor, didn't I? Now, I did not try this with any of the colors that were had different colors in it, so I leave that to you. If you do that, please leave a comment and tell me how it turned out, if you liked it. But what I love about doing the water brush, and I have to tell you, I am not a painter by any stretch of the imagination, but it just was so easy. Plus it makes you feel very artsy while you're doing it, so that's not bad. And you have the control to make sure it only goes where you want it to go, which is important when you're doing something like this that has other areas around it. So it's not like watercolor that can be pretty free and forgiving. This isn't forgiving. Okay, so just like that. Super, super easy. So you can use it just like we did the ink pads with the water brush, and clean off clean off the water brush and clean off your craft mat and put the lid back on it. The other thing about the water brushes is the point is so nice. I mean, it just stays really sharp and pointed, which is great for filling in any area. So that's what I did. Then we had a third color of the brushed diamond, and it is gold. So I covered my card with that. I foam taped this in place. You Are the Best is one of the embossed greetings in the package, so I did go right around the edge with that. Oh, actually, and what I used on that, and I thought this was great, I used the electric blue and my blending brush, and look at the colors. It is a perfect match. I thought that was just great. Then I wanted to soften the center of this. Geometrics by definition are going to have sharp edges. And so I added the white flowers and the white ribbon. I made a bow. This is what the white flowers are. They're actually cream. I do want to tell you, we don't have many of these, but they're on order, so they'll be here shortly. So that's good to know. And I just zodded them in place and did the bow. I also wanted to add a little bit more because it looked a little plain. So I went into my thin line dazzles. This is the primary colors because it has blue, yellow, red, brown, green, red, and black. And so I put the brown ones just inside the edge of the card to just give that a nice little finish. So, my friends, I've covered ink pads. I've covered inking them with blending brush, with the watercolor brush. I've covered the shimmer powders, doing them directly on the paper. The other thing, I don't know if I said this, you can mist the paper. Let's see that. Okay, you can, let's see what that looks like. If you wanted to mist it first and then tap on the colors, let's see what that does. Let's use something that's got a lot of color. Let's use the, where's the brocade? Well, we'll just use this. This is Golden Sparkle. Okay, I'm going to tap it. I thought it would be a little more spectacular than that. Okay, missed it again. Yeah, you're not going to get anything unless maybe I didn't have enough water on it, but you're not going to get anything until the water hits it. So, okay, I'm going to stop playing with this and let you play with it. And I hope you have a good time. There's just a lot you can do. Most of all, I wanted to reintroduce you to the Color Me. Let me scoot this out of the way and bring these back in, because they're just doggone fun, and there are so many ways that you can color them. So we have the lace in ebony, and we have the ferns in gold. We have the limited amount of clocks and gears in ebony. We have the doily, cute, and we have the chocolate geometric and brown. We also have limited Santa Claus postcards, Christmas postcard toppers, okay? And we also have the gold hearts. These are also in limited supply, but they're there. And we do have those 12 by 12 sheets that I demonstrated to you earlier. So we've got lots of options, lots of coloring. You will have so much fun, and that's really great. We have a money saver, and you know it's going to be over on the right-hand side of our screen. It's going to give you a discount with all of these. And if you have some other ideas, leave it in the comments. Where is that? You just scroll down and down and down and down. You'll find it. Just leave a comment. Love to hear what you think, and because that's really fun. And tell me what your favorite technique was, and I'm curious to hear about that. If you are watching us on YouTube, that's great. Would appreciate if you would like us and subscribe to our channel there, because that gives us more clout in that space. Then head on over to paperwishes.com. That's the only place that you can buy these, because they are exclusively ours. And we want you to have fun. We want you to have a good time with it, and do some playing, because after all, Paulette's Paper Plays, that's what that's all about. I want to thank you for joining us, because you are the best part of our Paper Wishes family. See you next time.